into game number 1, and let's see what happens.
We got this Spiteful Druid up right away for Janetzky. So we've been talking a little bit so far in Dreamhack Tour about the pick strategy in Last Hero Standing. Which of the decks do you want to get going first of all? And, you know, you were highlighting the strategy, which I think most people don't really consider, which is going for your kind of scouting out what your opponent's doing, taking the deck that you don't think has particularly good counter ability anyway, first of all. But generally, the strongest strategy that we've been seeing is going for the sweeping deck right out the gate, what generally has the best matchups against your opponent, which I think is what Janetzky is going for here. Maybe the Paladin instead. But if he had lined up the Paladin against the Priest, would have been a little bit more sketchy, I would say.
Interesting that Orange has led out with the Rogue under that situation, because it's always going to get countered by the Paladin.
Yes.
Which means he's confident either this is a throwaway deck, which is not, because Janetzky has Priest in his lineup, or he was confident Janetzky was going to open with Druid, and he has just called this absolutely perfectly. Yes, he can lose to Druid, but it's a better spot than a random pick would be. I think Orange has sort of outwitted Janetzky on this first pick here.
I would agree with you there. Yeah, this is definitely a matchup you want to be taking. Kind of one that I think most people, myself included, misunderstood when it first started clashing against each other, because the Spiteful Druid can get off to some pretty disgusting starts, as we've seen in this tournament.
Right.
With, I believe Vince's series, where he won 3 games in a row because he got Keleseth into Spiteful literally every single game, and it was just completely disgusting.
Definitely the correct way to go about it.
I would agree with you there, Lorinda. But with this particular one, it's not looking like it's going to be quite so oppressive, because for Orange, he hasn't got a particularly good starting hand, kind of slow right out at the start. But the thing is, that's fine at the moment. There's not really all too much pressure coming down for Janetzky, and with double Vanish being found, that's just like a prep away from never having to worry about pressure.
And this is the bit you're saying about misunderstanding the matchup, I think, in that it feels like Druid can just smash you in the face, but actually Druid sort of smashes you in the face, but it's a sort of slow and rumbling matter. It feels oppressive because you're constantly on the back foot because you know that Spiteful's coming. But actually, as Rogue, if you're given 6 turns to mess around, you can do a lot with those 6 turns, because you never leave stuff on the board anyway. You've got 30 health points for a reason. You can eat 29 damage.
That's right.
And the Rogue uses that to its advantage.
There aren't really those turns that massively turn up the pressure in an unsuspected fashion, I suppose.
Yeah.
Obviously, Spiteful is the biggest one, but when you're not playing any spells other than UI in your deck, contrary to even Paladin, where they can go for Blessing of Kings or Equality Avenging Wrath, or even Call to Arms to get out a Juggler, something like that, there's a lot of surprise damage, whereas for the Spiteful Druid, it's just like Leroy Druid of the Claw, Fungalmancer, I suppose, if you leave too heavy of a board around. But for Orange, with the Dagger alone here, he should be able to make pretty quick work of everything that Janetzky is throwing around.
Yeah, we're saying that, but actually, I mean, this is about as aggressive a start as the Druid can have. It's odd, because it's not its normal traditional hand you associate with a Druid being good. But coining out a 3-1 that you don't want to kill into another 3-drop with Fungalmancer waiting in the wings way before Vanish happens, Janetzky can get a surprising amount of damage through in a way that doesn't look like normal Druid should.
He can, but I don't know. Having said that, these Vanishes are allowing not only the ability to deny a bunch of pressure, as I was stating early on, but potentially a huge amount of quest activation. Like, if you can go double minion prep Vanish and then play them again on the next turn, you're getting incredibly close to just finishing off the game. And Janetzky here, going with the Spellbreaker here, highlighting that style of play that you were just talking about, where you try and go all in at the start, try and get that burst damage where possible, especially when you're curving in for Fungalmancer. But Orange here has got the spiciest of boys in the Quest Road deck in Sonya Shadow Dancer, which, when coupled with the South Sea deckhand, should be making for a fairly quick quest activation. Yeah,
and I mean, you said that with a sort of final tone. Is like, you make a quest activation with the implication being, then that's the end of that. And with this hand, unless Janetzky can pick up the Spiteful for turn 6, I do agree. And it's just amazing how one Wax Elemental has slowed everything down. One Wax Elemental, one hero power. But again, the Fungalmancer is going to be a problem. There's going to be damage dealt, but Sonya is going to basically sort this out.
Yeah, and you know, for the moment, there aren't like the real disgusting Sonya combos available at the moment, where you go Sonya Charger and then you Shadow Step the Sonya back for on the following turn when you can finally complete the quest. Because at the moment, Orange does not have the mana to go for these kind of strong plays. He's only played 1 deckhand now. If he went for it on the following turn, he could play 2 more deckhands, have 1 left. So it's 2 turns away until Sonia and the deckhand can complete the quest for him. So for the moment, at least, Janetzky does have a way to turn up the pressure before that quest is done. But still, having said that, there's 2 vanishes waiting in the wings for Orange.
You'll know that I'm happy about seeing that backstab in the rogue deck.
Yes, I do know you're a fan of this style of play.
I mean, in tournament play, if your rogue is left up and not banned, there's minions coming at you.
Right.
So as much as you dare put in your deck to stop those things, I feel is good. And it turns out you can't put much without really severing hurting. Everyone said, oh, you could auto-complete 6 cards. It turns out you can't. Otherwise, people would play backstab and fan. But it is nice for me to see a little bit of a nod to, hey, my opponent's going to try and kill me because he's letting me play rogue.
As another deckhand being picked up is a fantastic draw for Orange. He can go for, if he wanted to, Sonia and then go for double deckhand on this turn. Could even play both the 2-1s on this turn, as obviously the one that returns the hand from Sonia would only be a 1-1 charger. And then use that to completely clear the board on this turn. He would have the ability to play the remaining 2 on the following turn, which would be 1 mana short of actually playing the quest. But at that point, you're feeling pretty good. You just need to find something like a Scale Hide, maybe a bit of extra draw with an Elven Minstrel, and then you're pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, not a Scale Bane, because that's a 5/5 already, somebody told me.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, apparently that's already a 5/5.
You want the hide, the Scale Hide.
I knew it was a 5/5 somewhere in there. So here we go. All the things you just said are going to come to fruition.
Oh, you even get another Zola back. I didn't even think about that. Man.
Yeah, and that's just
so
insane. It's funny because Sonia was touted as good for Quest Rogue, and everyone went, but who's going to play that junk? Then people tried to put it in Tempo Rogue, and it turns out it's only good if you're already winning. And then Sonia's just sort of vanished. I'd hate to think how many people actually dusted her on the back of her being bad in Tempo Rogue.
Right. I mean, you are right. She was played in every Tempo Rogue in the first week when she first came out, then disappeared completely, then made a comeback in Tempo Rogue right in its kind of twilight years before it died. Basically completely. Like, it's not really a deck that you can play at the moment. Odd Rogue is kind of the closest thing, I suppose. But yeah, I think a lot of people will have been getting rid of Sonia, or even Zola, which also kind of struggled to find its place for a little bit because Quest Rogue was just not being played.
And then suddenly the meta shifted very slightly, and suddenly Quest Rogue
just became tier 1.
You get the Scale Hide, and you're well away.
Exactly. So for the moment here for Janetzky, it's kind of in that situation you were talking about where there's no real burst cards from hand when you don't already have a board, like double Blackworld Pixie, or dare I say, Hero Power, Blackworld Pixie, Hero Power, which feels so bad, but does allow you to kill the Sonia. And do you just have to kill the Sonia here?
It's such a Finland card. They always have
Pixie.
Yeah, they're the Pixie in this, and the 2/3 Pirate in the Paladin deck.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They just have these cards that are fractionally better in slightly different situations than the norm.
This, my friend, is looking pretty over to me. You obviously got, for Janetzky, the Grand Archivist, which could, target face or one of the 5/5s on a subsequent turn, and maybe draw you towards some charges like Leroy or the Druid of the Claw. But outside of that, I really fail to see any way that Janetzky can pull this back, because Orange has got draw in the form of Mimic Pod. He's got more value in the form of Zola the Gorgon. And with quest completion on this turn, I don't know. I'm not seeing it. I have to be honest.
I can't see. I'm just letting you try and find something there, because I'm looking at this board thinking, Spitefully into Tyrantus gets vanished, and that's the best thing you've got.
That's the best thing you have, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, the best thing you have at this point is just every charge card. Like, this Archivist goes to face, you don't die, which is fairly likely to happen, actually, I would say, and is 5 damage off lethal as it currently stands anyway.
Where's it going to go? It tried. It tried.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's obviously one of the better... Oh, it just goes back to hand anyway, because Sonia's still in play.
Yeah. Probably not even anything.
Oh, wait, you got prep. That's lethal. Oh, no, because the 5 armor was gained. You go... Oh, and you have to dagger as well. Is that 30 damage, though? It's a huge amount of damage anyway. Like, if you just clear most of the board, or even just vanish here, like... how do you lose, man? You've still got another Vanish in hand to go for double deckhand Vanish on a subsequent turn as well.
Yeah, got to get that weapon equipped. Not that that's difficult. You press a button and it equips it. And like, wow, complicated stuff.
And this also gives you another fully unsilenced Wax Elemental to play from hand. Man, oh man.
What is amazing is how smooth the best players of this deck make it look.
Yeah.
Like, Sonya, it's all obvious stuff. We're calling it. We can see it coming out, but the best players just make it look so trivial. I mean, the win might not be hard, but the win without messing it up slightly along the way is the tricky bit.
I mean, they make it look easy, and they may also make it look ridiculously powerful. Like, just look at this. He didn't even play any of the Vanishes, and the Druid didn't even get close to killing him. Like, he's still at half health, which is miles away for a deck that doesn't have that much charge.
Come on, MC Tech, do that thing that you do.
No.
Go on, do it. You can do this.
No. That is not doing a blooming thing.
You've got one job, which is to steal all 5 of those minions. You can try. No. Well done, you get a 1-2 Firefly.
Yeah. A 1-1, Neil. Not even a 1-2.
Yeah, you get a 1-1. It's the same thing. It dies to 5.
You still die, yeah. You're not winning this game at this point. And maybe if he got a Wax there, he could at least survive for a turn, but we can clearly see that there is no way that Janetzky is going to be taking this game. He throws it, and Orange takes the first game of the series with his Quest Rogue. Like you stated right at the start, feels like he got the better of his opponent in terms of the pick order there.
Well, now we're going to see how that plays out, because now the Rogue has an incredibly high chance of losing to Paladin.
I'm going to take away that incredibly. I think it's got a high chance of losing to Paladin, but it's not that bad of a matchup. I think we have different opinions about this as well. I think Janetzky is a good enough player to the point where he can push it into a really bad matchup, but Orange is a good enough of a Quest Rogue player to pull it back to like just a reasonably poor matchup.
I think it's awful. I mean, there are the backstabs, so that is a nod to the Paladin. Backstab is definitely important. You can backstab a 2-3 and hit it with your weapon. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
But... And I've seen you play this from the other side. I've seen you play this as the Rogue, so it's no surprise to me you think it's 50-50 against Paladin. I've seen you play as the Paladin, I mean. I've seen you struggle on stream.
Oh my God, you're right.
You were live on stream.
I played against Mr. Yagut on stream, didn't I? Yeah.
You beat him? You did win.
Beat him, even though I missed like 2 attacks over the course of the game, so I was talking to TJ. That was not my proudest hour.
It was fun for where I was in chat, and I enjoyed every second of that torture. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, how close someone like Orange can push this matchup. But if the Paladin gets like stuff and it's got stuff, it's so hard.
Also, Mr. Yagut was playing Priest on stream, not Paladin. It was a free win. I couldn't really have lost, but I appreciate it anyway.
I'm sure you tried to lose something important.
That does sound like me.
And you're right, he was playing Priest. But the story is now ruined.
Right. But however, this game for Janetzky is far from ruined. Very nice curve to be moving along with here right at the start. Just going for, the Armani Berserker into Coin Blessing of Kings or Coin True Silver. It's kind of... you're picking what you would rather be weak to. Obviously, if you go for Kings, you are weak to Sap and the Glacial Shard, I suppose, the main things you would not want to see there.
Sap, another little bit of a nod that's fallen out a lot of these decks that really is important in this.
Very
But look at Orange's
list.
hand. I mean, he's forgotten to draw any minions or any ways to get them back in his hand, and that's not impressive.
I'm kind of wondering, though, for Orange.
That's useless card.
Yeah, this is not the hand you're looking for with this deck, but... What is he cutting? Because he's playing Valera, he's playing Wax Elementals, he's playing Sap, he's playing Backstab. What's been cut from the deck,
so
do you think?
1 Minstrel, maybe?
1 Minstrel, I could definitely see that.
Card you can get rid of.
Scale Hide you wouldn't cut, Glacial Shard you
maybe
wouldn't cut.
1 charge minion, maybe 1 deckhand? No.
Maybe, but yeah.
Maybe Fireflies?
I don't see it. Fireflies, I think, are almost certainly not
gone.
being played. Yeah, because there's a lot of lists that don't run Firefly. But you know what I mean? Like, it's a very... It's a deck that's full of cards that are not core.
Yeah, and, that's part of the problem of cutting stuff, as we're talking about, but it does give you this chance. Ooh. 2 Minstrels can be cluttery. I imagine there is only 1. It's such a grim hand. Like,
yeah, man. Do you just pass again after attacking in?
Do you have a play other than that?
I mean, what do? Your 2 options for Minstrel are either, well, I suppose your 3 options are you either go Prep Minstrel, which sucks because you really want to go Prep Vanish or Prep Quest.
And you're going to have to go prep quest at some point or the vanish because you're in so much trouble. It's not even an option, I don't think.
Yeah. So then you're thinking Minstrel, Shadow Step it back to hand.
Hang on. So your other option is to go prep Minstrel because you're losing so hard and just try to get lucky and draw the other prep, and that's what Orange is going to go for.
It's Minstrel, though.
Yeah, so he's so far behind. He's got to get the minions to even have a chance of winning, and then hope to top deck the second prep, which he really needs.
I thought you meant he needs it off the Minstrel.
No. He needs to now get lucky because his hand is so bad. If he just sits around waiting for that prep to be useful, he will lose.
Yes.
So he now has to use the Minstrel to get going in the game and then find the other prep via his deck.
So it looks like he's going for the boar plan here to complete his quest at the moment, because it gives him a pretty good activation on Minstrel, and like you said, he kind of needs to be optimistic about his draws, but if he didn't get the boar back to hand there and he didn't draw a card that costs 2 or less, that's like it, because he needs to be able to get that Minstrel rolling very nice and quickly, because with the even Paladin, you know, if you're not facing down, given that he was able to sap the Blessing of Kings minion, if you're not facing Call to Arms, the pressure isn't that high yet, but it's going to start turning up very high very quickly.
Yeah.
Like Valanir, Argent Commander, Avenging Wrath, huge amounts of damage are going to come through.
Yeah, and Janetzky not drawing a second 2-cost minion has actually made a big difference here. No Call to Arms, no 2-drop. Does hurt you in this matchup.
Very
he's going to really struggle to exert crazy amounts of pressure, but luckily for him, he doesn't need crazy amounts of pressure just yet.
Nice there as well to get another cheap minion that isn't the boar, because if he went for Stone Tusk Boar into Elven Minstrel, he'd be kind of all in on either finding the other boar or a panda to get it back to hand if he wanted to go on the quest completion on that one.
Wonder how many pandas there are.
Does anyone play one panda?
I doubt it, but there's so many tech cards in this deck.
That's the thing. Like, what
so
could it be?
many tech cards in this deck.
I mean, yeah, after Firefly goes, obviously there wouldn't be
cut one, but
an Igneous Elemental wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Something's got to go. As he found another boar off of their Elven Minstrel, which is very, very nice indeed, because now we're looking at, on the next turn, Boar Vanish, which then would be all the boars, all the Stone Tusk boars you need to complete the quest on the following turn.
And the Minstrel should get you the Scale Hide you need to stabilize, because that's key against Paladin. Otherwise, they just keep hitting you and ignore your 5/5s at some point.
Yes, assuming the Minstrel survives, which is far from a certainty, even without looking at Janetzky's hand.
Sure.
You're very much looking at cards like Valanir to kill it off, Consecration, Avenging Wrath, maybe an Argent Commander to kill it off. Even though it's more likely for Janetzky to go for face plans here, you do need to be afraid of these minions being bounced back to hand, or for a Sonya to come down, because if Sonya comes down, all this attacks in, and then he plays a one-mana Minstrel to draw the Scale Hide, that's it.
I think you consecrate here, and I tell you why. It's because we've seen prep Minstrel as a turn from the other side.
Yeah.
So your opponent doesn't have many minions, and you don't want to let them have that Minstrel back. So get rid of it so your opponent is still struggling for minions.
So what do you think they have in hand? Like,
this guy,
Vanish, Shadow Step?
This sort of hand. I think you can predict roughly what Orange's hand is, and you know he needs minions. You don't necessarily know exactly why, other than he's trying to do a quest that involves minions.
Very fair, as Orange picks up a prep, which at this point is a very nice card to find indeed, I would say. Because
that's the gamble he made when he went for the prep Minstrel. Can I find my other prep?
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
And he's found it, and now things get really juicy for him, and Orange might embarrass me here in front of Darek. He's definitely got as much of a chance as we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, this prep surely gets used on the quest. Like, I don't see it ever being used on a Vanish here, because on the following turn, you go Boar prep quest, and then you play whatever else you get off the top. Or if you really need to Vanish, you could go Boar Vanish, something like that.
But yeah, Janetzky would have known about that Vanish almost certainly, just because of Orange's weird play with the prep.
Because this is a hand that wins the game on its own. You don't need any other cards, and Orange could probably still navigate a victory because he completes the quest. He goes for Valera, which gives him obviously the Death Shadow hero power, I believe it's called. And then you just charge everything to face and you probably win. Yeah,
we've been talking all tournament about when will it happen, when will the Rogue beat the Paladin on stream. This could be it.
This is definitely looking like it.
This could be the one.
Mate, I don't know.
Killing off that Piper was so key from Janetzky there, because that has cut off the chance of getting that Scale Hide and given him... It looks like it's really slow, but now if he starts moshing face with all this stuff, he's only got like 2 turns and he will kill Orange if Orange doesn't find a Scale Hide.
I think maybe now this might be the turn to take umbrage with Janetzky's play on the last turn and with what you were suggesting in the Consecration, which obviously, you both had the same idea. yes, it meant that your opponent could not get the Elven Minstrel back to hand and the Glacial Shard back to hand, as was also in play through Sonya or Vanish or Shadow Step or anything like that. But it meant you were exerting such little pressure that, whether they could have returned it to hand or not, it doesn't matter, because maybe you're not pushing forward enough damage to ever win the game. Like,
I feel he had 3-turn lethal from that point. That's why I feel it was okay, personally.
But look, he's not. Like, this is a realistic scenario for his line of play to occur. Like, Orange hasn't done anything truly ridiculous from here on in. He's just played a Vanish.
But Janetzky's very close to winning next turn with Equality Avenging Wrath.
That's true.
That's a lot of damage.
That is very true.
And if Orange doesn't kill in the turn after, even a little Consecration or Weapon Attack will do it. But the Glacial Shard would have been key as well, remember?
One other thing to be very cautious of, or to bear in mind, is we kind of think of Valera the Hollow as a kind of pseudo ice block effect.
Yes.
When you play it, you will survive. However, with Avenging Wrath, that does not care about stealth. If they have nothing in play and use that to survive, as could possibly be the case on the following turn, if it's something like Quality Consecrate on this turn, if they don't load up enough on the board, maybe it's a surprise lethal through the Valera. It seems unlikely at this point, because there's obviously the boar's in play. 15 health is still a very high amount, but it's something to consider from Janetzky's side. Maybe
really
he can move it
here. Hand reading. What can Janetzky remember? Right. What can Janetzky divine from what he's seen? I reckon he'll have a good idea that Valera and Vanish are both in hand, even though it's a second Vanish, just because that start was so limiting in what Orange could possibly have in his hand.
Right.
I think that Janetzky's got a very good feel for it. He doesn't know what the two right-hand cards are, so... Because if he doesn't think he's going to die next turn, he can do things very differently to if he does think he's going to die next turn.
As Janetzky loads up on the board as much as he possibly can, obviously setting up for some kind of a surprise lethal on the following turn, probably with Equality into Avenging Wrath is his game plan. And, given that Orange does not have any way to heal up on this turn or any way to draw with Minstrel or a Novice Engineer, something like that, to find the Scale Hide, what does he go for? Do you go Vanish, double Charger and get that damage through to face? Do you just go Valera the Hollow? You're not dying on that turn.
I think you want to go Valera, but can you? You've got to win the turn after if you do that. So load up the board and play... Oh, no, you can't do both. That'd be good. Play 14 mana.
Also, the other thing is he does not have a dagger equipped, and the hero power changes. You can no longer equip a weapon. So Deckhand is no longer a charger.
And that's
which is
a massive deal that we both overlooked, because you just assume it's equipped because it always is.
Exactly.
But Orange, incredibly, considering he didn't have anything to do for 5 or 6 turns, has not got a dagger equipped.
Because, these are the only charges he has left. There are no more boars in the deck, and if he doesn't equip the weapon for the rest of the game, there will be no more charges left at all, which is why he's going for this line of play, which I really, really like, because he realizes Valera is too safe a line of play. This is what we often see with kind of more amateur Hearthstone players, is they don't correctly analyze what they're actually vulnerable to. They think, oh, I'm getting a little bit low, I'd better gain the armor. I'd better just go for Valera for the sake of it. Whereas Orange here, he realizes 11 health, nothing on board, no weapon equipped. There's no way I die.
Lethal,
exactly. It sets up lethal. It's a much better play, I think. And
Orange is going to get this one done in, looks like, double quick time.
It certainly looks that way. There's
with the worst hand imaginable. And Janetzky gives it up, and that is a disaster for Finland fans. An absolute dream for anybody Swedish, like all of the production.
Or anyone who likes citrus fruit. That's also, it's a big day for those boys. Very underrepresented group.
You think?
Yeah, they're very sour about it.
Oh my God.
I wasn't even going into it thinking that. That was just a little spur-of-the-moment comedy for you there.
That was very, very good. I'm a bit bitter that you're stealing all my jokes, to be honest. So Janetzky's got to get it done with Priest against Quest Rogue to start it off.
It's not happening, basically.
Darren just made a symbol as if to say this isn't going to occur.
It's not going to occur, yeah. I mean, maybe, you can take the win here with the Priest. You can curve out very well. More so when
you get one of those in your
when
hand.
You get hands like this, exactly, you want to curve out perfectly. And the Scale Worm, when that was played more, that helped a lot because it was just a nice big body you could throw down. But you really want to be going Northshire, Pyromancer, Acolyte of Pain, Twilight Drake. Exactly, that's how you win this game. And then you follow up with Triple Mind Blast or something like that.
And the interesting thing with that specific hand, and it is a very specific set of circumstances, when it does occur, it's really hard to even get close to stopping it because you're just playing like an aggro deck with really good minions. It just doesn't occur very often because it's like a sixth of your deck and you've got to draw it all in a row.
And then you draw cards like this. Like Pyromancer and Divine Hymn obviously can be a very strong combo here. But Orange with backstabs in his deck is probably going to clear everything off before that even happens. Like, I don't imagine a scenario where Janetzky ends up drawing 4 cards or something. However, he's drawing pretty much every card we were talking about that is needed to take this game. So
if he can draw a play next to a second Pyromancer, even another Cleric,
anything,
just a card he can put on the board and say, I'm going to hit you with this thing, he might be in a decent spot, which would be pretty incredible.
Even there, though, the Pyromancer being cleared off, Orange looking to be setting up a quest completion with Novice Engineer, which, you know, the downside of it is that it's quite slow. A 2-mana card to complete the quest with instead of 1-mana card is a lot of difference when you're playing it 5 times. But it just means that when the quest completion is done, the chances of him having lethal on the next turn or so many Scale Hides charging through or rushing through that he never dies is incredibly high.
And he's just tootling along, doing his quest pretty much at his leisure. There are going to be some things trying to hit him in a minute. But Sap is going to make a mess of this, like, dragon pairing. Oh, and without the Sap, this would be grim. But again, the Dusky Boys have found space for a little bit of backstab and Sap action, which is going to make a lot of difference here, like possibly a game-winning difference.
Absolutely. And, you know, this is, like, the best hand for the Priest that you could possibly ask for against Quest Rogue. Like, what more could you want? You're not running all these like kind of removal cards. You don't even need them. And still, he's just losing board to Quest Rogue. And if you lose board to Quest Rogue and you're not like, I don't know, Burn Mage or something you can fire spells to face with, you always lose.
Yeah, and it's not going to end well by the look of it for Janetzky. But again, he's got a good enough hand that we shouldn't write him off. But Orange has just got a bit of everything. That's what you need here.
Oh, yes. Prep Vanish as well, which could alleviate some more of this pressure, whilst also giving him another play of the Novice Engineer at a later point, which is why I imagine it won't be played in combination with the Mimic Pod, because generally Prep, you know, in these kind of control matchups, you're meant to use it for Quest or Vanish.
Interesting, again, Orange does not have a weapon equipped.
He's had too much good stuff.
No, that's what I mean, but that's 2 games running where he's been busy doing other things. A lot of people auto-equip the weapon, but Orange has been doing other stuff. This deck allows him to do that other stuff.
And, you know, he could have daggered up on turn 2 instead of going Novice Step.
Yep.
But, like, he had no deck hands in hand. Like, there was not really any reason to, because there's no 1-health minions being played by the Priest. The dagger doesn't do anything. Unless you draw deck hands, at which point you dagger up then to get the lethal.
So the next turn or two, I mean, strangely enough, in a game that lasts about 8 turns, the next turn or 2 is crucial here completely. Janetzky has just started to get that board, but Sap is going to take 4 damage off the board, which basically takes 8 damage off the board the turn after because your second rate doesn't come down. It's a lot of damage for 2 mana removed.
So just thinking about the ways that he possibly dies here, which is obviously too much damage coming through, followed up by Mind Blast, which is why he's very heavily considering Prep Vanish as the main point of reference, because mitigating 7 damage is an awful lot indeed. He would still have the ability to complete the quest in hand, which is why I like this play a lot more of Prep Vanish, because as I said, are you ever realistically going to be mitigating more than 7 damage in a turn with this play? Like, how do you lose here? Because you complete the quest on one of the following turns. It will make your quest completion turn a bit weaker because you can't go quest, prep quest into Scale Hide to start healing up straight away. But that doesn't really matter, that you've still got a sap behind to sap the next Twilight Drake as well.
Yeah. Looking very... It's difficult to lose this match anyway, and, you know, Janetzky has shown that even with a good start, it can be stopped. Although that good start, without the saps, without the vanishes, can be a issue. But this time around...
I hope you like my invention.
I mean, he just sat and watched for 10 minutes this match.
I mean, okay, so Janetzky's hope here is like 0.00001% chance is the Orange Burns quest. Like,
okay.
I would never expect that to happen. Orange is too... He's too good of a player. He's not going to let that happen. You never see the quest burned ever at this point. But I don't know. Like, what else has Janetzky got here? Orange has got lethal in the next couple turns, if not.
And it would be amusing to see. And I like
Orange. Oh my
Orange.
goodness, it would be amusing.
But, you know, And to be fair, I've cast a lot with you this year, Derek, and we have seen a lot of things that should never, ever be said or seen again in Hearthstone games.
Yes, we have indeed. We both know the moment to which we are alluding, and we will not name names.
You guys will have to find it, because I'm not going to mention it.
Yeah, and Orange here, you know, giving himself a buffer, putting on his seatbelt, as it were, just to make sure no matter what he does, he can't be an idiot.
Yeah, and Janetzky hasn't even got Temporus anyway. So, Janetzky is just at a loss here, right? He's got to try and set up some damage, but he knows, I mean, you can see from his face, it's like, oh, well, I enjoyed Dreamhack, it was fun.
Yep.
Side event starts in a couple of hours.
That's it. What is he doing?
I mean, he may have good tiebreakers, there may be a 6 and 3 sneak, so I haven't done the triangle.
I think with the way it works, because there are no players with a perfect record, even going into round 8, it's just going to be 7-2 players.
Okay.
Oh, 8-1 and 7-2 are the only players who are going to make it through.
Okay, so
that's what I've heard.
that does
from
make
to the
sense.
players.
Yeah, I usually let the players work out the triangle for me because I can do it, but they all do it anyway. So what's the point?
Exactly. As a quest comes down here, completed, 2 charges in hand. Zola and Shadow Step to amp up the amount of damage coming through. Even if that goes wrong and he starts taking damage from Holy Fires and Mind Blasts, you got double Scale Hide to push things up. And this does look like Orange is going to be sneaking through into our top 16, which we'll be doing later on today to prepare for the top 8 through to the finals tomorrow.
And sneaking through is right. Like we've seen him on stream, I think he lost one quite early on. I don't know, but even though he's one of the big names, obviously, at any event he goes to, he didn't really look at any point like he was going to get into the top 16. He had 2 relatively early losses, not ridiculously early.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like the player who brought this lineup to get through was going to be Hunter Ace. He was off to a great start here.
Right, and he's the one that didn't.
Right.
Like, there's 4 of them in with a chance going into this round, but...
yes, Chinoise, I believe, is one of the others who has a chance if he won both his 8 and 9 matches.
And there are others. Yeah, Chinoise was definitely won his 8. He was definitely into a win and in situation. And there were 1 or 2 others as well, and... I can't remember who.
I am so glad that we're seeing this because Orange, for me, has been such an interesting player to watch, specifically with his Control Priest deck, because he has played it so much more than me. I guarantee that he is a better player with the deck than I am, but he plays it so differently to how I would expect. Right. It seems like every game, it's for fatigue that he's moving towards. It's always board focused, using his hero power for minions every time, it feels like, which seems so counterintuitive to what the deck is trying to do. With Mind Blast and Holy Fires, it usually appears to me, at least, that you're trying to kill them off with damage, but he just makes it work.
I think one of Orange's big strengths, I mean, you can say people are good and people do have different strengths and weaknesses. As Fino goes to 8 and 1, is that he's very good at knowing his alternative ways to win. Right. Like, even compared to other pros, he's very good at going, okay, dumps to this idea, new idea, I win this way. What happens is he does it all sort of by a, I don't know, he just, yes, no, all the way down.
Right,
He knows when he needs to switch course, and he learns them all, and he practices them all.
Right.
And he will find a 1% that he has rehearsed that we don't even know exists.
That's
He's really good at those.
That's the benefit of being in these practice groups, because Chinoise was talking to me about that exact matchup, Control Priest versus the Control Warlock, where he was telling him, Mitsuhide says the Control Warlock never loses if you play perfectly because you got like too much heal. Your deck just beats theirs naturally. And so that's why Orange is going for these alternate win conditions, going for fatigue instead, removing all the minions because the heal does not get there in time. As this particular game, is there lethal available already?
I mean, we're just talking because he's going to win.
Lethal on board, and Orange is going to be advancing through to the top 16 of Dreamhack HCT Grand Prix Tour. What a player to be our first player shown on stream to qualify through.
Yep, 3-0. Nice enough. Got a feel for Janetzky. I think Janetzky was 6-0. He may be 5-1.
Really?
It was like he was going to make it, but probably not going to make it now, and that is a real shame because watching the Finnish contingent go well is something that is always great to watch. But also is always great to watch is Orange making yet another, I think it's his 4th Dreamhack Grand Prix top 16.
Really, very impressive indeed.
And there's only been like 12 or 13 of those or something like it.
Right.
It's a ridiculous consistency for top 16s.
Yeah. Very impressive indeed. But there's a special place in my heart for Janetzky. He was actually playing in the first ever game of Hearthstone I casted.
Did he win that one?
I don't remember. It was like 2.5 years ago. But
Yeah.
I'm sure he did all right.
I mean, he's
a good
done all
player.
right for a long time, and this
Yeah.
is gutting in a way because it's another 6 and 3,
Right.
and he's one of those players that if he could just mix his results around a bit and go 6-3, instead of getting that, he'd go 7-2 and 5-4. He would just have so many more top finishes with the same number of wins, is what I'm saying.
That's not how it works. Otherwise, you just concede like 5,000 games in a row and then win
Yeah.
every tournament for 10
It'd
years.
be a little bit awkward, for sure. But we're going to take a moment. That was so quick. We've got another game lined up for you. We're going to take a moment to get those guys ready, and we'll be right back.